Khamenei again?
A leader assassinated, a son suddenly taking power, missiles flying across the Middle East, and oil prices exploding worldwide. The Iran war has just taken a shocking turn. Iran has officially appointed Mojtaba Khamenei as its new supreme leader, only days after his father was killed in a massive airstrike. But here's the real question. Will this new leader calm the war, or push the region into something even bigger? Because right now, the world may be watching the start of the most dangerous Middle East conflict in years. The assassination that changed Iran. On February 28, 2026, a massive airstrike hit Tehran. The target? Iran's most powerful man, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. The attack was part of a coordinated US-Israeli military operation targeting Iranian leadership and military facilities. Khamenei, who had ruled Iran since 1989, was killed along with several other officials. His death immediately threw Iran's leadership into chaos. For the first time in decades, the country suddenly had no supreme leader. Iran's constitution required an interim leadership council to take control while religious authorities decided who would replace him. For several tense days, the world waited. Then Iran made a surprising decision. Instead of choosing an established senior cleric, Iran chose his son. Iran's Assembly of Experts officially named Mojtaba Khamenei as the country's new supreme leader. The decision shocked many observers.
Who is he? Mojtaba Khamenei. Khamenei again?
Because the Islamic Republic was founded in 1979 to overthrow a monarchy. But critics now say this transition looks dangerously similar to a dynastic succession. Mojtaba Khamenei is a hardline cleric believed to have deep connections with Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guard. For years, he operated mostly behind the scenes, rarely appearing publicly but reportedly playing a major role in Iranian politics. Now, at one of the most dangerous moments in Iran's history, he holds the most powerful position in the country, and he inherited that power during an active war. Because while Iran was announcing its new leader, missiles were already flying. The war between Iran, Israel, and their allies has rapidly escalated across the Middle East. Iran has launched missile and drone attacks targeting Israel and several Gulf countries. Some of those attacks struck energy infrastructure in nations like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Bahrain. Israel has responded with new waves of airstrikes inside Iran, targeting military facilities and strategic infrastructure. Meanwhile, Iran-backed groups across the region have also joined the fighting. The conflict has now expanded across multiple fronts: Iran, Israel, Lebanon, the Persian Gulf. So far, the war has already killed more than 1,600 people across the region, and the danger is growing because the battlefield is now approaching one of the most important locations on Earth. Not a city, not a military base, but a narrow waterway that powers the global economy. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most critical energy routes on the planet. About 20% of the world's oil supply passes through this narrow channel between Iran and Oman. But because of the war, shipping traffic through the strait has nearly stopped. Tankers are avoiding the region, insurance companies are refusing to cover ships, and more than 150 vessels are now waiting outside the strait, unable to pass safely. The result? Global oil markets are panicking. Oil prices have surged dramatically since the conflict escalated. Brent crude recently jumped to nearly $120 per barrel, one of the biggest price spikes in years. Markets fear that if the Strait of Hormuz remains disrupted, the world could lose a huge portion of its oil supply, and that's already triggering massive financial reactions. Stock markets have dropped sharply. US futures fell by over 1,000 points in early trading as investors reacted to the conflict. Economists are now warning about the possibility of global stagflation, rising prices combined with slow economic growth. In simple terms, the war could make life more expensive everywhere. Fuel prices, shipping costs, food, everything. And that's why governments around the world are now scrambling to prevent the worst-case scenario. This conflict is no longer just about Iran and Israel. The United States is already involved. Iran's regional allies are watching closely. and military analysts warn the war could expand into a multi-front regional conflict stretching across the Middle East. If that happens, it could impact global energy supply, international shipping, financial markets, and geopolitical stability. Some leaders are already discussing emergency measures, including releasing strategic oil reserves to stabilize prices. But the biggest uncertainty remains Iran's new leader, because the world still doesn't know how Mojtaba Khamenei will respond. Will he escalate the war to prove strength, or seek negotiations to stabilize the region? Right now, nobody knows. So here's where things stand. Iran's longtime leader has been assassinated. His son has suddenly taken power. Missile attacks are spreading across the Middle East. Oil prices are surging, and the global economy is already feeling the impact. What happens next could shape the future of the region, and possibly the world, because if this conflict grows, the consequences may not stay in the Middle East. What do you think? Will this war escalate into a larger global conflict, or will diplomacy step in before things spiral out of control? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and if you want clear updates on the biggest global events, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story is far from over.